Hey BookTube! I'm the Book Mage, welcome back to my channel and to my last book haul of 2023. It genuinely does not feel long at all since I was doing my first hauls of this year. I'm not really sure how it's come around this fast, but either way, these are the last books that I'm going to be hauling for this year. Not like I'm not going to keep doing this next year. But this is also like a bit of a small haul, at least for me. I don't think it's been too long since I posted my last one, but also I'm probably moving house soon, so I'm trying like not to haul as many books. I'm not saying I've been successful, but like, I'm trying. I mean, if the stack at the side of me is any indication, I'm probably not trying very hard. So as always, what I will do is I will leave like timestamps in the description if you want to like skip along to a certain part. So like I'll group like the Fairyloot and like the Goldsboro and like the Broken Binding together. And with that said, because I don't want this to take too long, I'm going to get started, and I'm going to start with just like the normal regular books so we can build up to like the shiny special editions. So the first book I'm hauling today is The Ruined by Renee Ahdieh. This is the fourth book in, I think it's called The Beautiful Quartet, and I do bitch about it every time because 4 books is a tetralogy. I know this is being stylistic, but like it still irks me. This is the last book in the tetralogy, so I'm absolutely not reading the synopsis. The first book it was advertised as like a vampire like romance. The vampires are barely in it at all. It's kind of like a YA gothic murder mystery, and I actually really liked the first book. I still haven't gone on to read book 2, even though I've been meaning to for like a couple of years now. But I've kept buying the series, so I guess I still intend to go on with it. Speaking of series that I've bought all the books for but just haven't started yet, I have the new release for the Kingkiller Chronicles. So this is The Narrow Road Between Desires by Patrick Rothfuss. This is another novella. I think it's just one novella rather than like a series of short stories. And this is set in the same universe as The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. Books I've meant to get to for years and I just keep putting off. I think because I expect them to be so good. Okay, maybe I've only been buying like books in series I haven't started yet, 'cause this is getting to be a bit of a theme. The third book in my haul is Defiant by Brandon Sanderson. I think this is the 4th and I think final book in the Skyward series. Having still not read the first book yet, again, I really do want to get to these, but I don't necessarily want YA to be where I start with Brandon Sanderson. I have so much other fantasy to get to before I read these, but I definitely will, which is why I've been hauling them. I think the first book follows a girl, I think her name is Spencer, and she's training to be like it's like a sci-fi like fighter pilot or something, I think, and she's the daughter of a man who was like disgraced for deserting the army, so like she's got a lot to like prove, I guess, to like prove that she's not like her father. And more than that, I don't really know. This is book, I think there was like a collection of short stories as well, so this is either book like 4 or 5. I think it's book 4 in like the main series, but it could be like the 5th book overall. The next book in my haul, to no one's surprise, it is Flight of Icarus. This one is by Caitlin Schneiderhan, and it's like a tie-in novel to the Stranger Things TV show. Eddie Munson is like my favourite TV show character like ever. Not to say that I'm like basic or anything, but yeah, I think this is like a prequel that follows Eddie in like the months or like the year before the start of the 4th season. So I was interested to read this. I honestly have heard some feedback that this kind of clashes with the canon of the show. So like whether I'm going to enjoy it or not is a whole other thing. And I suppose this could also fall into the series of books where I own a lot of other books in this series, in like the Stranger Things tie-in novel series. I have not started any. Is that just the kind of booktuber I am now? Like I just have that many series? I don't want to think about that. I think we know the answer to that. Although to break that cycle, a series that I have so far read all of the books in this series, including this one, I'm not really happy about it. That is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is the sequel to Fourth Wing, which I do not doubt everyone has heard of Fourth Wing by this point. The basic premise of it is that like it's a YA fantasy romance with added spice, and it's about a girl who basically has to go off to this like war college to become like a dragon rider. It's like a dragon rider training school with like a heavy romance focus. I have recently posted, I think I posted like 3 videos about this book, honestly. It appears in one of my vlogs, it's in one of my wrap-ups, and I did have to do a whole rant review, sort of, not even like a review, just like a rant about some of the things that pissed me off about this book. This is like 650 plus pages, a wild sequel that I just kind of wish did not exist, if I'm totally honest. But I have it, I'm hauling it. Kind of wish I was unhauling it, but okay, next is a book that I kind of stumbled across, and I believe this is an indie release and it's pretty new, and it is Mercy by Ian Haramaki. I was captivated by this cover. This cover, it's gorgeous. It's so beautiful, and like the design on the back as well. Like this is a stunningly designed indie book. I feel like so many indie books like really go for the designs. This is I think it's YA, but I'm not entirely sure because it might be spicy, in which case it might be adult. It could be new adult. The American age rating system confuses me. So, but it is a romance between a priest and an angel. And look, sometimes I'm just like a bit of like a cliche goth bitch at heart, and like I read that and I was like, oh, I've got to pick this up. I've got to pick this up. So this one I will read you the synopsis because unlike every other book in here, it's not going to spoil something for like an earlier book in the series. So this says, Father Ilya Pavlovich Sokolov is a lonely priest and pariah of his small town. Tasked with killing an injured monster in the woods, Ilya is certain of his death. Instead, he heals the monster's injury and lifts its curse, revealing a handsome, memoryless man. So many fanfic tropes in here, but like, I'm so here for them. I'm so here for them. Cocksure Danya is a man lost in an unfamiliar world. He struggles to recall his past life, flashes returning as he and Ilya grow closer. Soon his appearance begins to change once more, but not into a beast. Instead, Danya grows into something like the sun that Ilya has worshipped all his life. With complicated pasts between them, the two must work together to deal with the corruption of Ilya's own church, as well as their blooming feelings for one another. So like, it sounds good, it's quite short, but like, it gives me, it just kind of giving me like a little tinge of like goth stuff. You know, it feels, I look at it and it feels wintry. I don't know if that's because like angels remind me of Christmas, or maybe because it's kind of like, it sounds like Slavic inspired. One thing that I wish, like this is such a beautiful cover, I wish this had foils on it, because like this cover was like meant for foils. And while it is romance, like I'm not completely against romance. I do want it sometimes. But if you give me like a beautiful gothic looking cover and it's about like a priest and a fallen angel, I'm so getting it. I'm so buying it. Okay, now we're starting to stray towards special edition territory, but not quite yet. So my next book is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. And this is a beautiful Waterstones Lake. It's a gift edition, so it's not a special edition. I think it just has like a different coloured cover and it has beautiful foil on it, which is what attracted me to it. And it was like £3 on eBay, so. This has one of those synopses that's so long, I don't know if I can actually like read this whole thing. Skimming through this, it's set in 1893 and it is about a widow from London leaving for Essex. So upon moving to Colchester, they start hearing rumours about something called the Essex Serpent, which is like a local like mythological beast. And they say that it's returned and that it's now claiming human lives. So the widow, Cora, who is apparently a naturalist, wants to kind of like prove what this is and see if it's some sort of like undiscovered species. And during this time she's introduced to William Ranson, the local vicar. So he has different opinions about what's going on, but obviously they're trying to investigate the same thing, so I think they're going to start working together. And I'll be honest, I was kind of mainly drawn to this, like getting this specifically now. I'd seen the paperback when I went with my friend to York. We saw it in the train station and it was gorgeous. But like, to get this for like less than a £5, I was like, yeah, I'll just buy it now. I'll just buy it now. I've just realised this is also like about like a priest or a vicar. Am I telling on myself? And I know there is like a TV show of this, but I think it's on like Apple. Does anyone have, like, I'm not paying for that, I'm not doing that. So I will read the book instead. Speaking of York, while I was there, if you have seen that vlog, you've probably seen that I picked up 2 books on my little day out. And one of them was this cute little thing, and this is Mythical Creatures, and it is by Lauren Booker. So this is just kind of like a cute little like flip through book. It's like just like a little pocket book of various mythical creatures just from like all different countries and cultures, and it was cute, and so I kind of picked this up as a souvenir. It has like artwork to go along with it, and it's not so much for, obviously there's not going to be a lot of information, like if you want to read on any of these things in any more detail you'll have to do like further research. But what this is good for, I think, especially if you're like a D&D DM or like a tabletop DM or anything, and you're like looking for inspiration for new creatures, like new monsters, if you could like just flick through this and you'll just get like a little tidbit about like some sort of weird creature that maybe you've never heard of before, because it's just like, it's basically everything. I feel like this will be a good like little inspiration flip through, and if anything strikes me here that like I don't know about, I can always go on to do more research. But I feel like if you're running like a tabletop game and you just want like quick inspiration, like this could be a good one to like keep on hand. And the other book that I got while I was in York was Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. This is such like a pretty little novella, and I have been saying that I want to read, or like I want to have on hand more novellas, just things that can be like little palette cleansers, just like quick little reads that I don't really have to commit to. Maybe if I'm feeling like I want a certain something but don't want to read like 600 pages of that certain something. So this was my second little souvenir book from York. And this says it follows Toadling. On the day of her birth, she was stolen from her family by the fairies and grew up safe and loved loved in the warm waters of Fairyland. Once an adult, the Fae ask a favour of Toadling. Return to the human world and offer a blessing of protection to a newborn child. Centuries later, a knight approaches a towering wall of brambles, where the thorns are as thick as your arm and as sharp as swords. He's heard there's a curse here that needs breaking, but it's a curse Toadling will do anything to uphold. And on the front it says there's a princess trapped in a tower, this is not her story. So this sounds kind of like a fun twist on, I guess, the Rapunzel fairy tale, and it's so short, it's so cute. I picked this up because I was honestly being like a lot more frivolous with my spending that day, but I am glad that I picked this one up. It does seem pretty interesting. Such a short little read, maybe something I will get to soon, so I'm glad I picked this one up. Okay, the next one is technically a special edition, but sort of not really, and it is this slipcase edition of Ruination by Anthony Reynolds. Now again, this is that League of Legends book. I've said before, I've never played it. Apparently you don't need to read the book, and I did already haul a copy of this, but the thing is, this is like a £70 or £75 special edition, but like, I bought this for like 20 quid, and it has like a slipcase and everything. This slipcase is gorgeous. Like, I love that it's got foils on the actual slipcase. The book itself has some sprayed edges. I'm not like a massive fan of the design, like it's cool, but like I think like plain black would have looked cooler. So this edition comes with like a ribbon bookmark and a bunch of like free art prints. The maps and everything in here are in like full colour, and the book has like full colour artwork illustrations like scattered throughout. It does mean that all of the paper is that like shiny glossy printer paper feeling, which I dislike. It is kind of a nice special edition. The only sort of downsides to this is the cover is this sort of like wraparound design that's like printed directly onto the hardback. But because of that, the standard edition is just like plain black, but it has like this beautiful like blue foil as like a sword symbol on the front. It has like this symbol but printed in foil on the actual hardcover, and I much prefer that. And also the end papers are like this beautiful like teal cyan blue, and it doesn't come with like a dust jacket either, which has a different design, which I also like. I just don't personally like this piece of artwork, this design. Maybe because it's characters, but also like this kind of colour scheme is easily my favourite. So part of me was like, can I take this slipcase and just put it on the regular edition? But this has so much colour artwork in it, I'm like, ideally what I would do is rip this hardcover off and just stick it in the other hardcover, but I don't think I'm good enough at binding books to do that, so currently I just have 2 copies of this while I decide which one is like which one I like the most. I'll make a decision at some point. I won't talk about what it's about because like this was literally in my last book haul anyway, and I think from there we're moving on to actual special editions. Yay! Okay, so from here we are moving on to special editions. And I'm going to be starting with Goldsboro. So the first thing I'm hauling from Goldsboro, this was just like a regular purchase and not part of the subscription, and not the kind of book that I would normally haul, but this was so a cover buy that I just could not have it. And it is Square of Sevens by Laura Shepherd Robinson. This cover is so gorgeous. It reminds me of the Society of Alchemists in York, which is like my favourite shop in York. It's just, it's celestial, it's like a little bit like esoteric. I love it. I adore this cover. The Goldsboro special edition of this, and with the black sprayed edges as well. Chef's kiss. It is gorgeous. They have like this landscape pencil art as the end paper. Is it the same on the back? Yes, it is. And this book is signed, and this does not come with a synopsis on it because there's no cover, but vaguely what I remember, and this was one that I was so on the fence about whether I would enjoy it or not, because I think this is Regency era. Is it Georgian? Is it Edwardian? I can't remember exactly what era this is, but I believe it follows a girl from Cornwall, and I think she does like either like fortune tellings or tarot readings or something of that nature. So like it might have magical realism, but it could also like not be that. I'm not 100% sure. And I believe that she goes to Bath, and I think she's like involved with the high society in Bath. I think she's going to these lavish parties in stately homes and things, and I think she's doing her trade as kind of like a party trick like at these events, I think. But I think she's also trying to figure out what happened to her mother or something to do with her mother. I'm being so weird and not great about this synopsis, but like I do not have it in front of me. I love this edition so much, and this keeps going. Like I kept seeing it on eBay when I was looking for like secondhand special editions. I kept seeing this on eBay for like over £100, but when I got it, Goldsboro still have it in stock and it's like 25 quid. So like, why are people selling it for £100 when you can just buy it from the source for like a quarter of the price? So I did have to get this because like it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning, and I will read it just so that I can have it on my shelves because aesthetically I can't not have this book. I know that's so shallow, but like, look at it. Also from Goldsboro is our monthly book, and it's back to bubble wrap hell. Honestly, I'm not mad at it right now because if I'm moving soon, I will need all this bubble wrap, so maybe an excuse to buy more books, actually. So I think this is the November book, and this is The Gilded Crown by Marianne Gordon. If you could see it because of the shine. I'll try and like, can I angle this in any way that is visible? Oh, there we go. So this is The Gilded Crown. I'm guessing it's a YA. Goldsboro GSFF do a YA or adult sci-fi or fantasy release, although I'll be totally honest, I think the past at least 12 months, I think we've only gotten fantasy all 2023. I don't recall a single, I think I said this last time, I don't recall the last time we got a science fiction book from the Goldsboro Science Fiction and Fantasy Fellowship subscription. And quite a lot of them have been like, they feel almost, a lot of them have felt like rejected Fairyloot books. Although I think a couple of them, I think we did have an overlap once between the Fairyloot book and the Goldsboro book, so like, I'm not wrong. Gorgeous sprayed edges. This makes me feel so Christmassy. I think it's because it feels like a Christmas garland, like at nighttime or something. But this is a black sprayed edge, which you know that I love. And this sort of like ivy design, I really love those sprayed edges. Ooh, and designed end papers, which we don't always get. And again, like the ivy, and again the crowns. This is making me feel very Christmassy. I feel like these are things that you just see in like, just Christmassy icon. Oh! Goldsboro, you shouldn't have. I mean, you should have. It's so rare that Goldsboro ever do foils on a book. Like, maybe this is on the standard hardcover, I don't know. But oftentimes with Goldsboro, you'll just get a sprayed edge and a signature and, like, that's it. And I can't believe we've actually... The foils on this... Oh, I hope this book is good. Oh my god, look at this with me. Bask in it. This is phenomenal, and it's on both sides. It's different on the back. I love this so much. It reminds me a little bit of, like, the Cruel Prince or the Wicked King. One of them has like this sort of like crown and greenery like motif on the book. I think it's the Wicked King, I'm not sure, but like that's the vibe it's giving me. This is gorgeous. This is, I'm so pleased about this. So often I feel like the GSFF subscription books tend to be a bit underwhelming. Like a lot of the time they just have like a completely blank hardcover, and a lot of the time they don't even have end papers. It's just a sprayed edge and a signature. And I know it depends like what they can do per book, but this is so much more what I want to see. I'm so pleased about this. So let's look at the actual book choice and see if this is one that I will enjoy. This is apparently book 1 in the Raven's Trade series. It says, the first time Helivere visited death, she was 10 years old. Since she was a little girl, Helivere has been able to raise the dead. Every creature can be saved for a price demanded by the shrouded figure who rules the afterlife, who takes a little more from Helivere with every soul she resurrects. Such a gift can rarely remain a secret. When Princess Sullivan, the sole heir to the kingdom's throne, is assassinated, the Queen summons Helivere to demand that she bring her granddaughter back to life. But once is not enough. The killers might strike again. The princess's death would cause a civil war, so the Queen commands that Helivere remain by her side. Sullivan is no easy woman to be bound to, as Helivere begins to fall in love with her. With the threat of war looming, Helivere must trade more and more of herself to keep the princess alive, and death will always take what he is owed. Necromancy magic, female-female romance, definitely a fantasy at least. I am not displeased with this one. I don't tend to do like fantasy romances, but I feel like this has enough that interests me. Like with death being like an actual tangible character, I feel like this one could be interesting. Okay, so next I have my Illumicrate box, and again I'm assuming this is the book for November. Okay, I think it's this way around, but I could be... it's stuck. Ooh. Ooh, oh, okay. Not at all what I was expecting. I was like, this feels so weird. I thought it had like a Mylar sleeve at first. But this is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I have heard of this. I don't know what it's about, but I have heard of this. This is very shiny, so like I've kind of tried to turn my brightness down, but I don't know like how well you're going to be able to like see this cover with like this reflective surface. But it has this like really lovely design of like all these starlings all the way around. And the cool thing about this cover, I believe, lift it off. It's a transparent cover. I love that. I think I've maybe only got like 1 or 2 other books. I think the Illuminate series kind of does this a little bit. It has foils on it as well, that's lovely. Design of the house, I guess this is Starling House. And you can see it's kind of got like these tiny sparkly little foil stars, I guess. Oh, and I've not even shown you the edges. Look at these sprayed edges. Are these not just delightful? Like, these are so pretty. Illumicrate has done so well. This is what the end papers look like. And I think this is such a creative addition. I like when books do something a bit different like this. This is definitely going to be like a standout book on my shelf because like how many other books actually do stuff like this. Looking at the plot, it says nobody in Eden remembers when Starling House was built, but the town agrees it's best to let this ill-omened mansion and its last lonely heir go to hell. Stories of the house's bad luck, like good china, have been passed down the generations. Opal knows better than to mess with haunted houses or brooding men. But when an opportunity to work there arises, the money might get her brother out of Eden. Starling House is uncanny and full of secrets, just like Arthur, its heir. It also feels strangely, dangerously like something she's never had, a home. Yet Opal isn't the only one interested in the horrors and the wonders that lie buried beneath it. Sinister forces converge on Eden, and Opal realises that if she wants a home, she'll have to fight for it. Even if it involves digging up her family's ugly past to achieve a better future, she'll have to go down deep beneath Starling House to claw her way back to the light. It sounds interesting. I'm still not 100% sure like what the actual plot is going to be. And it's giving me YA, but like for the cover, I'm definitely going to keep this one, and I will definitely try this one. It just seems magical and inviting, and I'm sure that's because Illumicrate has done an amazing job with the cover, but I'm definitely going to keep this one around, and this will be one that I give a go and actually get around to reading, hopefully at some point soon. I know I say that with every book, but like, I do mean it. Okay, that was a really strong start for Illumicrate. I think next, just because it's at the side of me, I'm going to move on to Inkstone Books, but this is Murtaugh by Christopher Paolini. Look at this cover! It's so beautiful! This is like so nostalgic for me. This is so nostalgic for me. Eragon was like one of my favourite series as a kid. Like the first book was one of my favourite books of all time as a child. This is a sort of spin-off slash retelling. I believe it's the story from Murtaugh's perspective. And it's chunky and like, look at these sprayed edges, like little dragon scales. Honestly great. Eragon is one of the few books from childhood that I would really like to give another go at reading. I read the first couple, but I think it was a 4-book series, and I think there might be like a spin-off, maybe like a picture book as well, I'm not sure. But either way, I never got to finish reading it as a kid, mainly because they came out and they were like expensive long hardbacks, and like I was a working class child, so I definitely had to have this. I knew I was going to get this book, but when Inkstone were doing like a special edition, I was like, yes. And I have ordered one other special edition as well, but I'm not sure which one I like more, so I had to get both to be safe. Look at that foil. Who does not love a giant dragon's face in foil on the front of your book? This is just like a big nostalgia series for me, so I had to have this. Okay, so moving on from there, we have the Fairyloot book, and again, I think this is the book for November, and this one feels actually quite heavy. Okay, so the little spoiler card here says, "By the sword." Oh, I'm seeing black edges. Everybody knows I like a black spray painted edge, so... God, it's a chunky one. I'm kind of excited. What is this? Okay, so... I don't know where to start with this. I think this is like the most awkward reaction to a book reveal I've ever had. Apparently this is Cassandra Clare's new book, an author that for personal reasons I kind of vowed to never have a book by. So interesting that I now kind of own one sort of against my will, if I'm totally honest. Also, not a fan of the cover art. It is my duty as an unboxer to show you this cover. I know some people do like this sort of character artwork, but I'll be totally honest, my overwhelming feeling when looking at like this kind of character art is just that it looks like every single character art that I see on books. It looks like every single piece of like Sarah J Maas character art I've ever seen. Here's the thing, I just don't really like character artwork on books, and I have seen the original cover of this book, I think in Waterstones, and to my knowledge it caught my eye, and then I saw that it was by Cassandra Clare and I was like, oh no. Actually, I'm not actually gonna get that. And it looks like this, and like, why would you... This has got to be like a controversial change, right? Because normally they put this stuff on the end papers, and like, what is on the end papers? It's the same two guys. You've got these guys on the front, and then almost identical images of them, like in between. Could you just not choose? Is it the same on the back? On the back we have an image of a girl, so somebody different, and inexplicably a carriage, because I guess there just wasn't a fourth character. I do like the sprayed edges. I kind of like the... Oh, it looks like one of those like little paper cutouts where you sort of like stack it. I kind of really like that vibe. I like the stars. It is kind of weird because I'm only ever going to have this on my shelf like this. I think if you displayed it like this it'd probably be better, but I just do not have shelf space for that. And I'm probably also not going to keep this. Spoilers. Okay, I feel like this might be like one of the most underwhelming books I've ever received. I'm not trying to be harsh about it, but like it does have a foil, and I do like book foils, but I feel like this is just kind of generic. It's like, if you look at the back, like it reminds me of like when you would get like a nice edition of like a children's like copy of something like Cinderella or something. Maybe the carriage is giving me that feeling, but like it's all very basic, right? It's the exact same just swirl design, and there's just a vector of like a carriage and a crown, and like that's it, and the title. I'm not wowed by this, to be totally honest. I feel like they should have had, I don't know, it's called Sword Catcher. Could you not put a sword in the foil anywhere? Like just something. I could probably replace it with anything else, because there's like nothing in this cover that really identifies this book. It's an alright edition. I just kind of feel like this is the kind of thing that maybe you could get from Waterstones and it wouldn't cost any more than a regular edition. It's just like the standard like hardcover foil. Like for something like The Binding had a foil much nicer than this, and that was a standard edition. I do like that the end papers do have foil on them, but I feel like it's a weird choice to do these two characters twice like this. Like, this is so similar. I'm really not getting it, honestly. I think part of my disappointment is that just I personally don't like characters on book covers, and I'm getting really sick of this same, like the exact same style of character artwork being used. I know they say that they're adult, but like they're on the border, because I feel like these all read, I can't say about this, but I feel like most of Fairyloot's books read like romantic YA with occasional spice in them. I think this must be Cassandra Clare's first dip into an adult book, but to be totally honest, when you look at like actual adult fantasy works, the level of like artwork and customization you get inside them, there's so many talented artists out there and so many other styles of character artwork that is not just this. And like, no hate to this artist, because they're clearly a very talented artist, but it just kind of feels like you can't just use the exact same artist and art style for every book ever. Like, just reaching for like one of the nearest things on my shelves, I kind of don't want to shout this book out because I think the author's a bit of a dickbag, but like, this is character artwork. It's realistic, but then very stylistic. Like, this is quite unique, it's very striking. Or if you look at the cover for something like Dragon Mage, like, this is fantastic artwork, right? I just feel like I'm bored of very specifically this art style. I saw it really take off, mainly with like, I think it was Court of Thorns and Roses, but maybe also some of like the special edition character artwork for like the Throne of Glass series. That's where I saw it first take off, and I feel like it's just become like the default art style. I don't dislike the art style, I'm just sick of not seeing anything else. Look, okay, a controversial opinion. I'm not going to bother reading the synopsis because I know I'm not going to keep this book, I know I'm not going to read this book, and actually I don't want to promote this author on my channel. You can say what you want about her fiction, like I know that she's a very popular YA author, I know she was really big back in like I think kind of around the time that like Hunger Games was like really popular, like that, she's that kind of era I think, and she got massively popular, and I'm not really here to comment on her writing, or if you like it, or any of like the weird incest tropes that she did when she used to write like Harry Potter Ron Ginny fanfiction. That's like a whole thing. My main issue with her is just the way that she conducted herself online, and like the rife theft, plagiarism. Like, we've just had that whole H-Womaguy video on like plagiarism, but Miss Cassandra Clare did it so early on in the days of the internet and fanfiction, where it was kind of like she would lift directly quotes from like TV shows and things, and rather than using them as a reference, they would never be pointed out to be a reference, it would always be like claimed as her own. And it's like, if you didn't explicitly know, oh, this is a line from Buffy, or like this is a line from Firefly or something like that, it would be like, well, it just seems like she's saying that she wrote it, because she doesn't point out that she's just lifted this word for word from like an existing IP. And apparently she did that to quite a few other actual fanfiction authors as well, stealing their like words, like their paragraphs and like their plots and things like that. And rather than ever be held accountable, I know she had so much swing in the like fanfiction like forums and things where she was like a member at that time, that I think that she threatened people with like fake legal action essentially, and basically bullied the people pointing her out and saying like, yeah, it's not right that you're doing this, basically bullied them off the internet, and was never held accountable for it. And now I kind of feel like it's too late, because people are like, oh, that was so far in the past, and it's kind of like, yeah, well, I don't fucking like her, I think she's a shitty human being. And if she did that sort of nowadays, it's like, she was an adult when she was doing this, it's not like she was like 12 years old. My issue is not with her writing. Like, if she wants to write incest tropes, like, she can just write it, I don't care. If she wants to see the Weasley kids get it on, like, that's her thing, like, go for it, I guess. I wish I didn't have red hair when I said that, but like, sure, Cassandra, you can go for that, but like, it's the way that she treated her fellow fanfiction authors by basically making a name for herself by plagiarizing existing IP and like other people's fanfiction. And because fanfiction itself is such like a grey area for things like ownership, I just feel like that's why she got away with it. That and like the internet was kind of like a lawless place. There are so many like articles and videos and other things of people doing like deep discussions and like deep dives into what she did, and I remember reading them years ago, and I decided years and years and years ago that I would never read anything by her, so I will be getting rid of this book. Not even just because like it looks ugly, but just I just genuinely disagree with the way she chooses to engage with literature as a writer, as a human being, as a creative person, and I just feel like the way that she treated her fellow creatives, for me, is unforgivable. And I'm not saying it's kind of timely to unbox this when that whole James Summerton thing just came out, but like, I mean, at least she wasn't that egregious with it, but it's still basically the same thing, just in smaller portions. And I do not forgive her for it. So, I'm gonna get rid of this. I think this is like double whammy for like the worst subscription book I've ever got, because not only am I not interested in reading the book itself, I don't want to own anything by this author, and I think physically, like visually, this is kind of a shit edition, maybe aside from the sprayed edges. So I guess I'm really bringing the salt this holiday season. Yeah, that that book can just go straight in the trash. Okay, from that, shall we move on to the broken binding? Because I love everything from the broken binding, and I don't know which order these are going to come out in. I'm just going to open them and be surprised. This is like a little pre-Christmas gift unboxing, like gift to myself. Okay, this just says it's from the Dragon's Hoard, so this must just be a special edition that I have purchased, and I don't know what it is, but again, I love how they box them. Okay, let's unveil what this is together. Like, what did I buy? Oh, of course it is. So this is the broken binding special, like, anniversary edition of King of Thorns by Mark Lawrence, and this is to match the first book, which I have here. This is, weirdly, opening this directly after that, this is also a series that I initially said I would never read. Not for any of the same reasons, but only because I think I once read an unlicensed excerpt of this as a child and just didn't like it. I decided that this is so popular, and I really like Mark Lawrence's other universe, the Red Sister universe, Book of the Ancestor I think it's called, that I decided to pick up this series. So far this is what these are going to look like together on the shelf. I know that this is kind of like, it's like an older, well-liked, I think, older series. When I read this, what I believe to be an unlicensed early draft of this book, I'll have to do like a full story time in a vlog one day when I eventually get around to reading these books, of the first time I ever technically almost read this book. I believe it follows a boy who's like the leader of like a band of, I think they might be mercenaries, they might just be like marauding outlaws or something, I'm not entirely sure, but I know that this is very grimdark and like very explicit, and when I read the version that I did, I remember it feeling quite try-hard. However, I have decided to give this series a go, and like, again, like I love like the corvids on the pages, it's beautiful. Like the signature page is just, it's so stunning. Like, it's giving me big Dragon Age Origins like menu vibes, and like look at the, it's so simple, but this is like such a lovely addition. A fun little aside, I posted a picture of my bookshelf like a month or two ago on Instagram. Prince of Thorns is just like down there, so you can just see it. Mark Lawrence commented to be like, hey, did you know a special edition of King of Thorns is coming out and you can buy it now? And I was like, thanks, Mark. I had actually already pre-ordered it by that point, but I was like, I did let him know that I had purchased it. I was like, yeah, I have ordered it, I promise. Weird interaction. It's the only time authors ever talk to me. It's happened 3 times this year alone, and I don't even tag them. So I will get around to that series eventually, but for now, let's go on to yet another broken binding. This book feels really, really light. This is so tiny, I think I know what this is. This is so cute! This is going to be Bookshops and Bone Dust, and it comes with like a cute little art card of like the cover art. Okay, and here it is, and the reason I really like the broken binding edition is because they use like the original, at least for Legends and Lattes, they use like the original artwork from when it was like an indie published novel, and they've stuck to that style for this one, and I really like that, just because the vibe of them is so much more, I don't know, I don't really tend to like character artwork, but something about it gives me like a bit of like a retro fantasy vibe, and I just like it. Here, of course, are the sprayed edges. So this is the foil, and it's on the back and some on the spine as well. And so I believe this is a prequel to Legends and Lattes. So in Legends and Lattes, it's about like an orc adventurer who I think decides to like retire to open up a coffee shop instead, and it's just meant to be like a cute, cozy like fantasy, I think with like a bit of romance. And this is a prequel, so I'm not really sure what to expect, other than I'm guessing it's just going to be like fun, chill cozy, like a good time, and sometimes with the amount of Grimdark I have, like I just need like a good time read. So I am really looking forward to this series. Again, it's just one where it's like I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. I know I definitely will and I really want to. It's just picking when. It's just picking when. I'm spoiled for choice, honestly. Okay, another one. I'm starting to get surrounded by packaging now. Oh, okay. So this is the next book in the Powder Mage trilogy. So this is the current subscription series, and this is for October, November, December. I'm so excited for the January to March series. Oh my god, it's like a Norse fantasy retelling and I'm so hyped for it. But I'm also so hyped to see this book as well because I have seen artwork of like this edition. Broken, but I say it every time, and I say this every time. Just Broken Binding is like the superior subscription. Like every single edition they do, I want to read every series, and every single physical book is so good. Just look at it. Just, this is so good. So this is the Crimson Campaign by Brian McClellan. This artwork on this cover is so different to any other artwork we've seen today. Like this doesn't look like the cover art of like Bookshops and Bone Dust, which doesn't look like the cover art of King of Thorns. Like they all look different. I don't know why the YA girlies can't appreciate like some diverse art styles, but anyway. Yeah, Broken Binding, killing it. Let's look at the sprayed edges. That's phenomenal. I think this series is kind of visually based on or inspired by like parts of like the French Revolution, and I have seen the Napoleon film, so I'm getting like big Napoleon film vibes from this. Yeah, you'll see why. Like, look at all those bicorn hats. Oh, these guys are wearing a different kind of hat, but just like look at the artwork. It's so captivating. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's just so atmospheric. I'm just so genuinely excited for this series. I just realised my copy is kind of squished at the top. I'm gonna have to try and like bend that out. Still, this is just a really, really gorgeous edition, and I'm so excited for this series. I won't go into what it's about again because this is book 2, and I think I talked about book 1 in my last book haul. But the quote on the back does say, "The hounds at our heels will soon know we are lions." I really hope I love that series. Like I'm fully expecting to just adore it. Oh, okay, I know what this is going to be. So this one is going to be the special edition of The Will of the Many, and this is by James Islington. It's spelt Islington. It's a place and it's pronounced Islington, but I think he pronounces his name Islington, so I'm gonna say Islington, but like I am so confused. If somebody could tell me which way the actual author pronounces it. Is it the standard way, or does he pronounce it Islington? If I like this edition, I want to gush about it, and I want to make sure I get his name right. So this is The Will of the Many. And I'll be honest, this is the first time I've ever seen a Broken Binding cover that didn't like wow me. And again though, I appreciate they've gone something different for the artwork. It's different to any other artwork I have seen them do. It's not my personal taste. I think like the values are a bit muted. Having not read the book, this might totally fit the vibe, so like I'm not mad at it. I still want this edition. I still like it, but again, still feeds into that I like that people like the Broken Binding don't just use the same art style for every book. And on the back there is a quotation, and it says, "If all you're trying to do is change who's in control, then you don't really want to change anything." So this is what the sprayed edge looks like, and here is the foil. Again, if you compare a foil like this to Swordcatcher, like how unique is this? This is clearly designed specifically for this book and this book only, and I don't think you could put this foil on any other book. That's what I want out of a foil. Really wonderfully well done. Like, I love this. And again, looking at like the end papers, is it different on the back? Yes, it is. Oh, I can. If you can't really see what it is, actually it's so much easier to see on camera than in person. It's like a maze, a labyrinth. I think this is the first time we've got this from Broken Binding. A reversible dust cover, and I think this is like a different colourway of the standard dust jacket. For now, I'm going to leave it the standard way round. Do we get a synopsis anywhere in here? No. So I know this is a really, really currently hyped series. I know that a lot of people have been talking about this, and I think it's getting really, really rave reviews right now. I can't tell you what it's about because there's no synopsis on this edition. I do prefer to go into my books as blind as possible, so I think this is just one that I'm going to pick up and just read on a whim. Silver! Oh, okay, so it's the Bone Season Special Edition by Samantha Shannon. Oh, it feels like Christmas! I say that, I don't even like do or get Christmas presents, but like this feels like Christmas. So this is the 10th anniversary rewritten edition of Samantha Shannon's The Bone Season. I think I've talked about this again in like a previous book haul. Look at this edition, look at these sprayed edges. So incredible. These are genuinely really stunning. Like the detail, just the level of detail on these and the design itself, I love so much. These are the end papers. The foil underneath is basically like the foil of, I think, like the original first edition hardback of when this series first came out, because I know they changed the cover design a couple times for this series, which is why I can't find them in a matching edition. So I'm hoping that with Broken Binding doing this edition, we'll get like the others for the rest of the series. There is a long quotation down the spine there, which, like, I guess you can pause if you want to read it, and there's another quotation on the back. And then moving on, last but certainly not least, to the final book in my haul. It is the Kickstarter leather-bound special edition of A Threat of Shadows by J.A. Andrews. Let me take this out of the plastic so that I can actually show you how stunning this book is. This might be like one of my favourite book designs of all time. Oh my god. This is everything to me. This is everything I want. The faux leather itself actually has like a real, like, proper leather texture. Like oh my god, look at the shine. Look at the shine. The dragons, the tree, the stars. This is everything I love in a design. The spine itself is also gorgeous. And notice we have hubs. We have hubs on the spine, and the design on the back is also the same. Red sprayed edges and full colour map for an end paper. I could cry. It's so pretty. So pretty, and I'm so glad I get to own this beautiful copy, which is signed next to this amazing artwork. This is so stunning. I have also backed book 2 on Kickstarter, and I think that completed, I think yesterday. I think they took it out of my bank yesterday. At least I finally get to open this one. But also, like, can I just show, like, this is how, like, the chapters open. Like, with this black page. I don't want to, like, spoil myself, but again, like, it has this beautiful, beautiful artwork in there, and like the black header pages, 1000% chef's kiss. I think this might be, like, I don't know whether it's necessarily the prettiest book I own. It's definitely in like top 5, I think, but this is at least the most, I think, my taste a book has ever been. This book has 100% of everything I want in a book. I think the only way you could make this more my taste is maybe if this was like a foil edge or like black, but then, like, I'm just getting picky for the sake of getting picky. This is a stunning edition, and of course I don't know what it's about. Like I did when I backed it. I always make sure that I know that I'm going to like the actual book on a Kickstarter before I back it for, like, what is a very high price for a book. But again, I feel like I've supported so many indie book Kickstarters this year. I'm only just now starting to, like, get books from, and it's like, oh yeah, all that money I spent. So looking at the synopsis online, it says, Alaric betrayed everything he believed to save Evangeline, and failed. His last chance to save the woman he loves lies in an ancient wellstone, a repository of power, buried and lost long ago. Luck, or something more troubling, leads him to a small group searching for the same stone. A disgruntled dwarf, a bumbling wizard, and an elf with an unsettling amount of power. If he can gain their trust, they might help him find the cure. But the wellstone holds more than he knows, and a terrible evil he'd thought defeated is stirring again, searching for the stone. Can the companions survive a traitor, a dragon, and their own pasts to reach the stone before time runs out? And this is the first book in the Keeper Chronicles, so it's definitely giving me that sort of, like, classic, like, D&D vibes, like a party coming together, like a classical fantasy quest, like find the magic stone. It seems very, like, all sort of like classic fantasy to me, and I just feel like I'm really going to enjoy this one. I want to believe that this is going to be like a potential, like, favorite series. Like, if any of, like, the aesthetics of the series are anything to go by, and like the artwork, this could be so fantastic. And so, like, I had to have this edition, even just to make it, like, potentially the prettiest book on my shelf. I had to have this edition. Okay, so that was the last book in my book haul. That was the last book that I'm hauling for 2023. Honestly, I feel like we went out with a bang. Like, that last book, potentially the best book of the year visually, like, chef's kiss, honestly. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this video. As always, like, if you made it this far, leave me a little book stack emoji. And I think, let me know, like, have you read any of these? Are you hyped for any of these? Are any of these books something that you're, like, particularly interested in seeing my opinion on? Or even just which one you thought was, like, the prettiest book? For me, I think it's quite obvious what I think is the most visually stunning book in here. But we all have different opinions. How do you feel about the, oh god, something like Swordcatcher being included in, like, I really think this book haul has included potentially the best special edition I've hauled all year, and also I think the worst special edition I've hauled all year. I mean, at least you can't accuse me of only saying I really like everything or I really hate everything. Clearly this has been a bit of a wild ride in terms of unboxings. But yeah, no more books. No more books this year. Oh my god. I mean, I'll probably see you, like, in January or something for, like, another, like, 40,000 book haul. Such is my nature. But as for this video, again, thank you guys so much for watching. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, I hope you're having a wonderful end to the year. I clearly am. And hopefully I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!